Okay, so it's 3 o'clock sharp, and welcome to this open session today with Do Tulku Rinpoche. I think he's not here yet. I'm not seeing his camera being activated, but I'm sure he will come just any second. So maybe something organizational. Today the talk is in English, but we provide a translation to German, which Paul is doing today. Thank you very much. So if you go down in the menu bar, and then there is a small world sign, and then you can click on the German translation, and then you will hear, yes, Paul translating the talk today into German. And yeah, while we are waiting for Rinpoche, so today's talk is also something like a teaser to a program that Rinpoche will be beginning in October this year. And this is a series about talks about the great masters of all the Tibetan Buddhist traditions. So we will start with the Nyingma and Kadampa masters. And so the part one of the series will start in October, and it's 4 Friday evening talks. If you're interested to join, then I will provide the link down in the box later. But today Rinpoche will start with Guru Rinpoche, also a very interesting and well-known figure. Yeah, so let's just wait some more minutes for Rinpoche to join. Hello, Rinpoche. Welcome. Thank you. So nice. I already did a small welcome to everybody. And of course, I would also do a small introduction on your person before we start. This is okay. So for those of you who do not know Rinpoche, he is the spiritual director of Arya-Taras.net, which is an online community and center for Buddhist studies based in the big city of Windeck here in Germany. And he's recognized as the reincarnation of the fifth Raktu Rinpoche. He has received 11-year training in Buddhist philosophy, practice, and debate at Songsa Institute in India. And since then, he has been teaching basically all over the world. He also has received teachings and transmissions, initiations from some of the greatest masters of our time. And at the moment, one of his main activities is the Bodhisattva Project, which is an online study program with participants from all over the world. And so we are very happy, Rinpoche, that you are joining us today for this open session and also for a series of talks about the Saints of Tibet. I already said something about this and will maybe also say some few words about this at the end. And now I will hand it over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Pia. Mm. Kaji ezer zoro jiral nemen dara dalar jino jinda dengen ru jimba se saune belu nam kain da kanjir ne pa jiro jiro to ka ver bazim ba kain ba teda tam je darba tam fe gur jir to be sung nin jin ne der she lazala mien je wang pa dan je jin la su chola chawa jo sange sung ro ro de je jin de jiro jiro ba de da je dam be she nin jin ne der she kan da cho dong ge ji den ne de je lo ma de ba kan 땡들을 듬비주지 저베진 냠버도 바텀제 드르시 남홀라에 근도도 너진게 좀더 미 있잖아. 로근지 드는 지점 바텀제게도 다기 쳐대한도 발서를 남으로 붙여다기 줘. 빼면 되죠. 컨텐츠 배고는 지좀도 고좀도 제 무릎자도서 tamge to je je rezo no je me dum de jum jum basar chilom bo dobro jibe go shaje jabe shobla chakso lo chakdon khol jibe jabo to chano kaba samba sange don khana kan de tela tel dem tsumba chere sin la chak seji jawo dum ji ji shi pumbo jik de bese ji gunje pa jurbe jambe yang la chasa lo kan shi thon shin je phonya la son dang nam ta ne chok jer jer je bodo je chen la chak sa lo khor de tarem to tar turino nam lo drama yum la chak sa lo shi je tam de be jam ba du gunje le drbe tu ji samye de le zebe dum nga jam ge la me jab lo go cha sa so de so la ma ken se wa yes kin se wa shin shi lap shi la ma kin se wa ten go kin se filter si la ma kin se wa tu ji ji kin se chen chen ma kin se de chen la ter jin don ni la ma jam ba de chen tu ko ta ni ki ko nam sam kan ki cham ba so nesem ta je tam be me ba tu kun ko bes tu ji jese tu nam tar sab jin ja je ta la to ta je ta le om chi kam yen Nintzen, kundu jamin gube zomdin chiji tukji zhukchungze menye menje sirni rangi nivele bese tadong kyunye majur pardo chapshin sobar majur roche. Hungu jinyu jinnub jangzam pema gisar dongbola yanzen choge ngudrum nye pema chungne sheso da. Kordo kandru mangbe kor chiji jesu tadrupji shinji lapjira shekso sol kuru pema sidi hungu. Kusum lam. Shoto mungi ngudrupsa. Oje Rinpoche la so andam kajem pajem me so chitin samba drupa dan chodo tumung drup san dos. Before we begin, I would like to apologize for my voice. Well, however much you try and drink ginger tea, uh, the cold comes when the cold comes. um, so my greetings to all. I see so many familiar faces and some unfamiliar ones and names. I am humbled that you have come here today to listen to us discussing the life, the biography of Guru Rinpoche, if that is even possible. So we begin this with the purest of pure motivation that we can generate. What could be the best motivation today? To speak about Guru Rinpoche, to listen to somebody speak about Guru Rinpoche, and to think about Guru Rinpoche, Padmasambhava, Mahaguru. What would be the best motivation to invoke the blessing of someone who even Shakyamuni himself said will be even greater than me? I don't know why I agreed to do this, to be honest. When Tulku Rinpoche and Pia sort of told me that, oh, to do this. And I was quite mindless and I agreed. And now when today finally, when I actually have to talk about this, my mind is blank. There's just so many informations just swirling around in this vortex of my mind. And from one hand, there is a tinge of devotion. And amazement, some sort of humility. From another, it feels like a snail who has exhausted his slime, that kind of snail, and is looking at the great ocean for the first time. So how do you speak about such a being? So what kind of motivation should we have? I don't know. Whatever is the best, that's what we should have, for the sake of the liberation of all sentient beings. Even if you're not a Buddhist per se, you must wish good to others. You must have goodwill, some sort of kindness, some sort of compassion. So it's a good thing to wish, wishing freedom to others. There is no happiness without freedom. There is no joy without freedom. Every time we experience joy, we have this illusion of freedom, so that helps. That creates illusory joy. So what could be wrong if someone wishes liberation to all sentient beings? Physical, mental, in any way, at any time, in any place. That is not the case right now in this world. We are not free. And so we suffer. I guess that is a sort of a baseline motivation to think about Guru Rinpoche, to even begin grasping this I don't know if we can call him a being, this phenomena, this enigma. So that's necessary, more so for myself than for you, I guess. And if there is someone who just thinks that, oh, this is just some sort of a talk organized by Tibet House, sorry to waste your time. For me, this is like the most important thing to do, the most important thing that I have ever done in many lives is to know the name Padmasambhava, to pretend to have devotion to Padmasambhava. Even that pretense, I really cherish. Oh gosh, my voice is making it so dramatic. Apologize. I apologize. If there is someone who say, I know the biography of Guru Rinpoche in its entirety, either that person is Guru Rinpoche himself or they're lying. It's not possible. How can we know the comings and goings of a Buddha, a fully awakened being? In the sutras, bodhisattvas like Manjushri, they watch how Shakyamuni walks. And after watching for a long time, they admit, oh, Forget about his mind. We don't even know how he's walking. From one hand, it's poetic. You can take it as a sort of praise, like a devotional praise, but on the other, it's not just that. They meant it. Similarly here, in so many, Guru Rinpoche himself many times said that I am the Vajradhara in the Omin Sambhogakaya Buddharam. I am sort of the Amitayus. In Bodh Gaya, I am Shakyamuni, and in Odiyana, I am Padmasambhava. But there have been people who have been very critical of him, not just during his time, but even now, Tibetan Buddhists. Some have even waged war, like historical war against Padmasambhava, destroyed his temples and destroyed his statues and so on. Yes, I sympathize. This is so difficult to believe. But then when you look into Buddha's his own teachings, where at the time of his parinirvana, when the time of his parinirvana is nearing, Buddha gives many prophecy, gives many solace, and binds up many of the teachings that he is yet to give. He finishes them. Then when it comes to, and also, yes, as I was saying, he gives many prophecy. And one of the thing he says is, "Ngani nyangin deo to loni chuda ni samna dana koshi soling to ngale la vike chungs." He, Buddha tries to give, not tries to give, but Buddha gives courage to the monks and the nuns and those people nearby by saying, after my parinirvana, after my death, in about 12 years, in the lake of Dhanakosha, there will be a being will be born who will be even greater than me. And there have been many explanations. What does that mean? Greater than the Buddha Shakyamuni. From one hand, Shakyamuni Gautama, although fully awakened being, appeared as a monk, a fully ordained monk, and appear as someone who is very much sort of to a general audience, like the Sravakas. He appears to sometimes get sick, sometimes have hunger, sometimes have thirst, and he appears to die at the age of 80 or 82. So the appearance, that kind of appearance is quite human. And on top of that, when it comes to Vajrayana teaching, Buddha didn't really teach Vajrayana openly. In some places like Odiyana and Dhanakatta, sort of faraway places, away from general populace. And so, in so many ways, Padmasambhava broke all that mold. It is, in one of the texts, it says, it is due to Shakyamuni's aspiration that Padmasambhava was born. It is almost like all the things that were needed to be done, but not in a monk sort of state, that was done through his incarnation as Padmasambhava. Anyway, there are so many. You should read like in chanting the names of Manjushri, Pade Sangi Pemachi, Kunchi Institution Basang. Now I'm forgetting the lines. Pade Sangi Pemachi is anywhere. It's also again prophecy of Guru Rinpoche, saying there will be a Buddha born from a lotus who will hold the treasury of all the wisdoms of all the Buddhas. Anyway, so that Tulji, this is what we call as Tulji. Where does this being come from? We are addicted, attached to cause and effect. So to show that cause and effect, then how to say, from the heart of Amitabha, this emanation appears. Now, there are many accounts of how about the birth of Guru Rinpoche. I have no problem in believing all of those. Because just as when Siddhartha Gautama, there are many accounts about him. What the ordinary people saw, what the arhats and these people saw, what the great bodhisattvas saw. And among these people, due to their karma and due to their elements and faculties, there's so many different things. And those are all considered to be biographies of the Buddha. Similarly here, to some, Guru Rinpoche says, oh, I was from the blessing of Amitabha, sorry, in the lake of Odayana. I was born as a child to a Naga queen. Like that. And then to some, just born directly, without father, without mother, from a lotus. So already, this is not really, it's really, really, how to say, difficult to believe. I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine, she told me why she left studying Tibetology in a university. I think it was in a university in Paris. Because one of the first days she joined the classes, they were going to talk about the teacher. She was, the professor, she was going to talk about Padmasambhava. And she started her class by saying, first of all, I want to say Padmasambhava never existed. You know, I sympathize. What else are you going to say? So, well, it's such a short time. So at that time, Odayana has always been a very mystical place for us. It is the place where the Buddha came and gave initiation to King Indrabhuti. There have been many King Indrabhutis, it seems, 3 or 4 of them in Indian history. Believed to be somewhere near Swat Valley in Pakistan. Visited frequently by great beings like Vajrapani. It is said that although initially it was a human realm, like a human kingdom, well, I don't know how else to talk about Guru Rinpoche except going into this, if you want to talk about cause and effect, come to another talk where I talk about sutras and so on, then I will hopefully satisfy you. But here, due to repeated blessing of people like, not people, but awakened beings like Vajrapani, Odayana is said to actually At one point, uh, Otiana became a ghost kingdom. Only the houses remained. All the beings, including the animals, everyone attained state of Vidyadhara. But then it was repopulated again and again. So much so that even non-believers like Xuanzang, this great Chinese monk, he never really liked Vajrayana. He was a Mahayana practitioner. Thanks to him, he came from China, journeyed to the east, or is it journey to the west? I forgot now the name. Because of him, we now know where Bodh Gaya is, where we know where Buddha turned the wheel of Dharma in Varanasi and so on, because he wrote down the distance and everything. So in his book, he actually passed nearby from Odiana, where he said he never liked it. He saw young boys and girls flying in the sky. And he had heard that this is some sort of Vajrayana place, and he didn't like it. He didn't write good things about it. He said, what is this, So that is the kind of the place, the origin of Padmasambhava. It's already beyond our habits. So the story goes that the king was in need of a son, in need of a prince. And after a lot of practice and generosity, then Padmasambhava was born in the lotus or in the lake. And finally, one day somebody saw this young boy in the middle of the lake. And then the moment the king heard of this boy, he just knew that this is the very special child that he has been waiting for, the future king of Odiana. So he adopted Guru Rinpoche, and he grew up in the palace as the prince. And then there came a time when he himself became ruler of Odiana, and he had queens. And now here there is a parallel with the story of Siddhartha Gautama, where one day when the prince was going like in the north direction, let's say, he saw a lot of sick people, extremely sick, ill, and he began losing taste in life and thinking, what is the point? Similarly, in south and west and east, every day he would go and he would see a dead body or like this kind of basically what Siddhartha Gautama saw, the prince also saw. Then he decided, I want to renounce and really practice. The king, of course, do not want to let go of the prince, and then, but finding no other way, no other chance, it is said that the Guru Rinpoche one day was playing at the top on the top of the palace with a trishula, what Shiva is holding in his hand, like that kind of trishula. And he pretended it was by mistake, and it hit and it hurt a son of a really sort of evil minister. Well, it didn't hurt the son, it killed the son. I was trying to be nice, but and so now there was no other choice. The family of this minister, he rallied a lot of people and said, we must either I want life for life, or this charlatan, this boy that the king just found somewhere, must be banished. And so they asked him, what do you want? You want to be imprisoned for the rest of your life, or killed, or banished? Then the prince chose banishment. So the banishment they thought would be the worst thing to a shanal ground. This is a lost, this is a lost thing these days, shamashana. Nowadays, it only means places where, what do you call it, people are cremated. It means that too. But shamashana, um, in India, there were not just in India, in sort of those ancient world, in that ancient world, they believed in places, places that were very powerful, places there where ordinary people cannot survive, places that were frequented by dakas and dakinis and all the good and the bad of the world that is beyond human uh, capacity. So they thought they were really, he's not going to survive one day in Shanna ground, but this was exactly what the prince wanted. And so he began practicing in Shanna grounds, receiving precious teachings from dakas and dakinis and deities. After some time, he became, it is said in the text again and again, uh, like it seemed like he became a highly realized being, all fully awakened. Nevertheless, there was a time when Guru Rinpoche went to Bodh Gaya. Now, what the people saw was bizarre. Sometimes there would be hundreds of elephants full of offerings, and this man, this strange man, is walking with those elephants making offering. And sometimes, like that, every day he's doing something very strange. So they ask him, "Who are you? Who is your teacher?" And he said things like, "I am a self-arisen Buddha. I have no teacher. I have no father. I have no mother." So nobody believed him and thought that he's some sort of a trickster, like a magician, or seeing that in this way he cannot benefit beings. Then Padmasambhava began to receive teachings from gurus. He didn't really need it, but so it is said that he studied everything, grammar, art, poetry, dharma, sutra, tantra, astrology, medicine, even things like how to make pottery, because it could be needed to benefit somebody. And most importantly, then he began meeting great masters of India at that time, like Prabhahasti. And at one point, Guru Rinpoche requested ordination from his teacher, Prabhahasti, and Prabhahasti said, "I am not capable to give you ordination. You should go to Ananda." You know Ananda, the attendant of Buddha. So only the Arahat Ananda can give you ordination. So Padmasambhava goes to Ananda and requests ordination. At that time, the monks all had similar dreams and signs. And they were so overjoyed to see who's going to come to see them, because they all dreamt that Shakyamuni Buddha was coming to see them again. And so the next day when he arrived, there was no doubt in anybody's mind. They all had the same dream. So Ananda offered him the monk's vow. But when it was time to cut his hair, it is said that the Dakinis stole the scissor or whatever they were using to cut the hair and took it away, um, uh, saying, "Do not destroy the world of Dakinis, the realm of Dakinis." This may have many different layers of meaning, but simply uh, in this kind of world Vajrayana teachings, it is believed that each part of this kind of beings is an entire realm, especially the hair, for whatever reason, believed to be the realm of Jakinis. Anyway, so after that, he traveled all over India, all over places like Pakistan, Nepal, um, and teaching, blessing, sometimes practicing. Now here comes the strange thing. By the time Padmasambhava was invited to Tibet, it was at somewhere around the 8th century. That means he was already 1,200-300 years old. um, I'm a bit embarrassed because I'm just, most of the things in between, I do not even understand his practices in the Shanar grounds, especially when he meets the 8 great Mahasiddhas and receives Dubakaje is just like totally beyond my pea brain. So I'm not even going to attempt. So such a being now, uh, who travels like this, the things that he did, like one day, at one time, a Dakini suggested that in future there will be a terrible time where people will not believe Dharma and they will actively seek to destroy Dharma and Dharma practitioners. So you should try to make a safe place for them. You know what he did? He created 60, I think, different secret realms. In Tibet in the past, many people tried to go to these realms. Beyul, they are called Beyul. One such realm is in Tashiding. I remember Dongskyen Rinpoche, he would say that you know, in many times you can hear that sometimes people are there, they're practicing, and then they go to pee behind a rock or something, and they'll just vanish. So considered, oh, they went to the Bayul, to the secret realm. That kind of thing. Very, if you want mysterious, if you want esoteric, there's nothing more mysterious and esoteric than Padmasambhava. Um, anyway, now his connection to us directly is through his kindness, only, mostly only through his kindness. Tibet was managed to embrace Buddha Dharma, to bring Buddha Dharma. And whatever you see right now, Sakya, Kaju, Nyingma, Gyalo, none of this will exist without Padmasambhava. Not one drop. People tried, Tibetans tried for many Tibetan kings tried. King Tisong tried. Didn't work. Didn't really work. Finally came the time of King Songtsen Gampo, the great Dharma king Songtsen Gampo, who was known as a ruthless warrior, a ruthless ruler in initial part of his life. And thanks to that, he managed to bring Dharma, because although Tibet was entirely under a shamanistic tradition, very strong, organized shamanistic tradition, they couldn't really protest completely because of the king's temperament. He was known to be ruthless, and I do mean ruthless. I mean ruthless like your whole village and town disappearing, ruthless. But thanks to this ruthlessness of his, the king, seeing how much negative karma he has accumulated, and how lost the entire kingdom is. And also through the efforts of people like Basalnang. And there's also one really, really great Chinese minister. I mean, he's a Tibetan minister, but he's from Chinese descent, Sangshi. These people work so hard to, to transform the mind of the prince towards good, towards Dharma, and they managed. And so the king now wanted, he was utterly in love with Dharma. He was convinced and he thought, this is it, this is what I need, this is what my people need to, to have true happiness sort of in the realm. This is what is needed. But it was not easy. He invited Shantarakshita, the great Shantarakshita. But the moment Tibetans would try to do anything related to Dharma, there would be hail, there would be storm, there would be earthquake, there would be epidemics, which make them believe more and more that Dharma is evil. Buddha Dharma Sangha is something very evil, so we should stay away. Although Shantarakshita was invited to Tibet, it was not possible. And basically, his own subject, his own queen, and his own ministers gave him an option that, you know, you must either we will revolt or you have to banish this Indian sort of, sometimes they call them Indian beggars, or sometimes they call them Indian, what do you call it, like tricksters. That's what they thought. So the story is so beautiful where the king just couldn't say anything. You know, I mean, he was he was somebody whose army reached the gates of the Chinese emperor. He was feared all over Asia. And he just couldn't, but one thing he couldn't do was change the mind of his people. Imagine, imagine in those days, a, a Greek king will try to bring Buddhism to Greece and change everything to Buddhism. Will that work in Italy, in Germany? Same, not possible. So he went he went to tell Shantarakshita. Shantarakshita was staying in a tent, and he made round and round. One night he made round and round. He had no heart to tell. He left. Second night again he came round, made round and made offering and left. And then the third, fourth night, Shantarakshita understood that the king is really hesitating to say something. And so the king cried and got on his knees and begged him, for his own safety, please leave Tibet. And looks like we have no karma. And so Shantarakshita said, the only way to bring Dharma is to bring someone similar to the Buddha, someone who can really tame. Shantarakshita said, who can really tame humans and non-humans. The reason why every time you Tibetans do take one step towards Buddha Dharma, something terrible happens, is because of the non-humans of Tibet. Sort of shaman, you can consider them like shamanistic deities and what not. And so, overjoyed that there is a solution, the king sent. There was, anyway, we will talk about this maybe in more detail. I think I'm going to talk about King Trisong's life for Tibet House. Tibet House very kindly told me to talk about the lives of these masters. Something similar to what we are doing, Stories of Liberation, but a bit more curated. And we've chosen lesser masters, sort of fewer teachers here. I think King Tisong's life we are going to talk. I wanted to talk about King Tisong and Perutsana. Anyway, the search party managed to meet Guru Rinpoche, And I really like how Padmasambhava didn't just said like, okay, let's go. They had a lot of gold. Tibet was rich in those days. They had lots of gold. So they offered all the gold. Guru Rinpoche didn't even look at it, and he said, what else do you have to offer? So they offered their own personal wealth. Guru Rinpoche said, what else? What, only this? And they finally offered their horses and whatever they had with them. And Guru Rinpoche said, what else? And then they took off their clothes, got stark naked, and said, this will. Guru Rinpoche said, only this. Finally, they said, we offer you ourselves. That was the tendril. The auspicious connection was established. And and to convince them, he threw away all the gold, saying, I have no need of such meager sort of things. On his way to Tibet, he tamed so many non-humans. Many of these now we make offerings to them as dharma protectors, like the Tenmachunyis. Tenmachunyi is now known as one of the strongest protectors of dharma in Tibet, where originally non-humans who actually tried to harm, tried to assassinate Guru Rinpoche many times. Anyway, it's a quite interesting story, but this is just introductory, as Pierre was saying. If you really want to know, this is a wonderful path, but I'm not sure if it is for everyone. Um, if your mind can accept dependent origination, cause and effect, and then also these things, yeah, then something is happening. Well, because of the presence of Guru Rinpoche, the king was able to establish Buddha Dharma. King was, most importantly, to build Samye monastery. Samye monastery was much, much, much larger than it is now. It had different wings for monks, for yogis, for translators, for Indian masters. There was even a wing for Bumpo teachings. I'm sure that modern day Bumpos will not like it, but in the text it is written that it was also used as a place where they slowly begin to introduce Buddhist values and teachings as Bumpo teaching. I'm too small right now to get into trouble, so I can say these things. Wait, then some say Guru Rinpoche stayed in Tibet for 12 years, some 50, some even more than that. Regardless, he spent a long time in Tibet, from the Tibetan king, uh, who became one of his closest students. Uh, he produced so many realized beings, practitioners, yogis, scholars. One of the first things he suggested to the Tibetan king was to train the Tibetans into language, in language, and into becoming translators. And it is said that the king tried to gather the best and the brightest of kids around and began to teaching them. But due to our collective bad karma, let's say, they couldn't understand Sanskrit. They couldn't study, learn anything. And this again disheartened the king. And then again, Guru Rinpoche began making prophecy, like saying, go in this direction, you'll meet a boy named Berozana. Bring him here. Go in that direction, you'll meet this and that boy. So Berotsana was brought to Padmasambhava, who became his root guru, and also was sent to India. And then people like Berotsana spent 50 years, many years studying, practicing in India, and came back and became translating. And thanks to that, we have this. We have all the teachings of the Buddha, entirety of sutras and tantras. I see that the time is running. What else? Also, during the time of Guru Rinpoche, uh, uh, options were given to the king. What kind of dharma would you like to establish? So the king wanted monks, monastics. And so 7 boys were chosen from 7 sort of royal families. And so they became the first 7 monks of Tibet. And they also became great Mahasiddhas. So this was a really good tendril. And thanks to that, this tradition of becoming monk and this tradition of lay practitioners supporting monk began. And so now we have all the traditions till date is held by monastics mostly, thanks to that. And then, most importantly, Guru Rinpoche's main student was Khandro Ishitsojil, who received everything from him. And then in Tibet, he introduced something that Tibetans had never seen or even heard: dharma, hiding treasure. And this is such a, even if you do not believe it, you should look into it. It's such a, it's its own world. Uh, to be honest, in many ways, we were so fortunate, I guess. These people were so fortunate that none other than Shakyamuni himself came to teach Vajrayana in Tibet. And then, like I said, he gave so many teachings, but then many of the teachings he said is not the time right now. Dharma just started in Tibet. People were just beginning to recite refuge, I guess. So he said, no, these are not for now. And then he, with each teaching, he hit them into the mind streams of his students in land, in space, in water, earth, everywhere. These are such a strange phenomena. And he was the one to introduce it. And to this day, a large portion of Buddha Dharma survives because of these Dharma teachings that have produced so many great masters and practitioners, realized beings. What else? And then he made many prophecy. One thing he said was, he kept saying many times that if I could do jinsek to really subdue the non-humans of Tibet and to subdue the basically like collective karma, cleanse the collective karma of Tibetans. If I could do this ritual 3 times, then the Dharma will remain for a very long time. But for whatever reason, the king never gave a reply. He didn't even hear it. And so Guru Rinpoche did twice, and the 3rd time did not happen. And then later he gave prophecy to the king that because of that, Dharma will be destroyed at the end. What else? Mm, then around the 11th century came new traditions, and then all the teachings that were there, entirety of Tibetan Buddha Dharma was all called in the Nyingmapas. And then new traditions then began to be known as Kagyu and Sakcha, and well, mainly these 2. these are the new traditions. In a way, it's not fair to compare us to you know, what what entirety of Tibet and whatever Padmasambhava taught, all that together, and then what one or two translators brought with them from India. It's really not fair to compare, but so it is now. And then later, after 3-4 centuries of the establishments of Sakya Kagyu school, then uh, well, also then came Kadampa school and many other smaller schools, but then came a major school, Gelugpa. So what we have right now is Sakya Kagyu, mainly Sakya Kagyu, Ingma, Gelug. None of this school will be possible without him. In his dharmas, like the short biography of Guru Rinpoche, the dharma teaching of Ujjain Lingpa, he makes prophecy of Sakyapas. Tidu ngatu sacha shisutra yami jambal yumi mate ngai lagan namja shiksuchi tidu sanga temba tarjing jes. He makes prophecy of this Sakya Pandita and Dogon Shojal Pakpa by saying at that time my emanations known as the Sakyapas will come. And then he also makes prophecy of people like the 13th Dalai Lama, people like the great Tsongkhapa, Atisha Itubal Losong Tags, the one who started the Gelugpa tradition. And in the Kagyu tradition, it's just so mixed with Nyingma. And to this stage, he have been sole inspiration for millions of Tibetans. Two things we know, from our childhood. We don't know since when we have begun reciting them. Was the mantra when he first emerged from the lotus. The Dakinis were mesmerized, and they couldn't leave his side, and they wanted to please him. And so they started reciting this mantra. So that is what we recite now. I apologize, I'm quite lost today. Yeah. Is there a question? Maybe. Yes, Terrell Hodge.
Thank you, Rinpoche, so much. Can you hear me? Thank you so much for today's presentation, teaching, biography. And you've mentioned some like short biography or other biographies of Guru Rinpoche. If someone's Tibetan is not yet up to reading a version in Tibetan, are there particular, thinking of today, if we want to do some more reading before you are teaching classes later, giving the series later, where might you send us first? If there's something in English, would you have a version you would suggest or versions?
Very good question, and I'm sure some of the people present here knows good English translations, so please share the information. I usually always read the Tibetan ones for him.
Makes sense.
And then there are many, some coming from Termas, some written by teachers and so on. So it's difficult to say, read this.
Okay.
There is, oh, sorry. It seems there is one from Shambhala Dragon Edition, the Lotus Born.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Is it on Amazon? in the world of books.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
written by Yeshe Sojal. So,
Okay. Thank you so much.
so how can we ordinary beings be Guru Rinpoche? That the question is in the chat. How can we ordinary beings be Guru Rinpoche? Well, this is the thing about Guru Rinpoche is that he destroyed the border of a human and a deity. You know, it's a very devotion oriented path, very devotion oriented path, bodhicitta, devotion, compassion, that kind of thing. So how can ordinary beings be Guru Rinpoche? He would claim that he actually came out of your mind. Sometimes he would say, my father is Samantabhadra, my mother is Samantabhadri. These are just names of mind, the true essence of mind. With some comfort in knowing that there is a rational way of approaching it. Maybe someday we can. It's important to do that, to try and understand it rationally, to get to the true essence of mind, let's say. After that, then you can also approach it devotionally, because then it doesn't harm, because you have the safety net of rationality also there. For now, that's all we can do. How can ordinary beings be Guru Rinpoche? Well, I don't know. Padmasambhava Tebachenla Pechung Gonyal, he said things like, those who have devotion, I I sleep at your doorstep. So from one hand, it's not so far, is it? How old is the history of Tsopema? Yeah, another question. Tsopema is, I didn't go into this story. There's one more question from Instagram, it seems okay. Tsopema, this place of Guru Rinpoche is still very active in Himachal Pradesh in India. We used to go there almost every year. I don't know how old it is. Indians and Tibetans are terrible at dates. When what happened, we don't know. Even quite recently, if you ask Tibetans, when were you born, they will say on a Monday. And that's because they're called Dawa Doma. Dawa means Monday. That's a Monday. It's, yeah. So I don't know when was Tsopema. There's a beautiful story about that the princess of Mandi, Mandarava, was so beautiful that more than 40 different kingdoms wanted her hand. And the father got so confused. What do we do? If I give her to one, the others would wage war on us. They will consider that we are insulting them. Anyway, finally, she decides to become a Dharma practitioner. And that kind of solves the father's problem. After a lot of fight, she becomes a nun together with 500 maids who also become nun. And they practice in a nunnery up on a mountain. We no longer have any traces of that nunnery, but the caves are still there. And so one day, Padmasambhava appeared, and they immediately began to have devotion to him, and he began teaching them Mandarava as his main student and consort. Anyway, but it was all done in secrecy. But then one day a cowherd saw that the princess was together, princess and all the maids were together with this strange man. And he went to tell the king, and the king couldn't believe it. He said, when I wanted her to marry a strong king, she wants to become a nun. She wants to practice dharma. Now, when I put her up on a mountain, there is a man up there. So he went and he caught them. He chained Guru Rinpoche and made him walk behind his chariot from the mountain till the Tsupema down there. And there he burned Guru Rinpoche for 7 days and 7 nights. So the story goes that after the 7th night, when the smokes cleared, there was some fire burning around the periphery, but the main pile of the fire had transformed into this lake that we still have to this day. And Guru Rinpoche was in the middle of that lake, sitting on a lotus. So anyway, so the king repents and offers Mandarava to Guru Rinpoche, and he begins teaching, and the entire kingdom of Mandi becomes Vajrayana practitioner. Then Guru Rinpoche had this prophecy to go practice Amitayus in Asura cave. And when he was about to leave, the princess begged, and he said, you're a princess, you're spoiled, you cannot, this journey is dangerous, treacherous journey. But she pulled her hair, scratched her face, wouldn't listen. Must take me with you. So he did, and in Asura cave, they practiced Amitayus together, and within 3 months, Amitayus' practice was accomplished, and Amitabha himself appeared and blessed them. I mean, to be no longer subject to death. How about that? So we believe. So after that, Padmasambhava left. Mandara was we believe she's still going around this earth somewhere. When Ishit Sojal, which I guess was after centuries later, wanted to meet Mandarava, she met Mandarava. Yeah, anyway, these are, I guess, stories for some, like myth and whatnot. Oh, somebody wrote on Instagram, please explain how to recite 7-line prayers better. Oh, this. Okay, I am. This is a whole different teaching. But the 7-line prayers were not something that was made by a lama, like somebody sat down somewhere with a pen and a book and wrote down something. This is what appeared from the awakened minds of the Dakinis and so on. So anyway, recited with devotion. Hong Ujin Yujin Dubjang Sampe Maki Saradong Bola Yansen Choge Mudum Nepema Jume Shezada Korda Kandra Mampe Warki Jizadad Shinjil of the Sheks of Guru Pema City Hongs. It basically says that in the what is it? Nupchang? What? Yeah, in the northwestern of Odiyana, in the Danakosha Lake. You are born in on a lotus, surrounded by dakinis. I practice to follow your footsteps. So please come to bless us, bless me, like that. If you can sing it, then sing it. Full devotion. And you should ask this teaching from teachers, the wonderful explanations. From one hand, it sounds like a simple description. Oh, you were born in the this and that. But actually, Ujin, Yujin, Nubjang, Sams, just the name Odiyana already, Ujin already talks about wisdom. Nubjang, Sams, what was that? Sorry. Northwestern of Odiyana, in the northwestern direction of Odiyana. In the northwestern direction of Odiyana, the northwestern also, this direction also talks a lot about wisdom. Anyway, I don't think this is the crowd today for that. Then, can you please share about what comes into play when a devotee sees an appearance of Guru Rinpoche's form? Is it all the mind of the devotee? Maybe. Not every time you see have a vision of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas means it is really the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Milarepa said, oh, this also happens due to samatha, experience of samatha. But if it is an authentic experience, then your mind should change. Your mind should enter wisdom effortlessly, I believe. If that happens, then it's good, or else we don't know. Is it really Guru Rinpoche, or are you hallucinating? No, I don't know. There's one in chat. I just read quickly. What does it say? Could you kindly share about the importance of sacred pilgrimage places of Guru Rinpoche and whether visiting them helps to deepen and strengthen our connection with him? Yes, that one is for sure. There is something very transparent and undeniable when you go to these places, like going to Bodh Gaya, for example. It's too bad that it is so far away. Bodh Gaya is so far away. Or else, I think, if we could get people just to go to Bodh Gaya and sit under the Bodhi tree for a few minutes, we don't need to speak and try to convince anybody of anything. Most people will feel it. You feel it. Place remembers, carries the strength and the spirit. Padmasambhava places, they are like, for example, the one that really impressed me, like Tsopema, very impressive. Or the tiger's nest in Bhutan, very impressive. Also, the Bhutanese, they have this sense of preservation where they do not let people build anything new around the pilgrimage site, so that it keeps them very clean and pristine and almost in their sort of original state. So I really like that. So I must say, yeah, places like that. Also in Nepal, so many places. Padmasambhava is everywhere. No matter where you go, you'll always find something. And when you're in those places, I think you do not have to pretend, like not pretend, but you don't have to push yourself to think about them or pray to them or contemplate on them. It really happens at times by itself. The place remind you of these things. Okay. I'm afraid I've been speaking for too long. If there is anyone else, please feel free. As Pia said, Pia Stoffels, as you see, the lady. We are going to this month, right? Yeah, this month. Next month we're going to talk about. This cold is making me forget everything, you know. So please don't mind. Next month for Tibet House, 4 sessions, 2 sessions dedicated to these early masters. One for so 2 sessions, and then 2 sessions for the early Katampa masters, like that. If you can join.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you so much, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Although
Thank
you
you.
are, yeah, occupied with your cold, thank you so much for joining us today for these very insightful and inspiring details you explained about Guru Rinpoche's life. And yeah, we are very happy to welcome you back in October for the start of the Saints of Tibet series. And so this open session, we do it monthly. And for next month, for October, we have not yet settled for a date, but we would like to invite Sego Rinpoche. So we will find a date in October and then, of course, let you know when that will happen. And for November, we are very, very happy to welcome back our spiritual director, Song Rinpoche. So he will be joining us on November 16 for an open session. And all the details and all the dates, of course, we will share on our website. And so with that, thank you very much for this very delightful afternoon. And I wish you all the best. All the best to you, Rinpoche, for your health.
Yes,
Smooth
thank
and
you.
quick recovery.